I love little small town romance books. Okay, hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Please ignore the sound of cat bells and cat water dish and probably cat chewing. He's always choosing the wrong moments to do that. But anyway, today we are headed back into videos. This was originally planned to be a vlog for today, but things kind of took a turn and the vlog did not get finished. So as you can see, I have very short hair now. Oh, I did forgot my glasses again. You know what? It's been since I forgot my glasses. I was doing so well. Hang on. It makes the short hair look better too. So instead of a vlog, today we are talking about the books that I read in 2023. I don't normally do these like recap videos, but it has been requested and I needed a video, so that's what we're doing today. And because I have a new vlogging camera that I got for Christmas, thanks to my bestie, that's what we're using. So I can actually use my phone again, which is nice. I'm still working on getting to know this camera and the picture and the sound and all that. So hopefully it's good. But just bear with me while I try to figure that out. So we're gonna get into our favorite little reading app here. It's not gonna focus. It's called Bookmary, and go to our 2023 list. This is where I keep track of everything I've read. Sometimes I get a little behind and I may have missed some books, but we're just gonna go based off of Bookmary. Because honestly, I cannot remember any of the other books if they're not in here. So, starting in January. So, the very first book I read in 2023 was The Bookshop of Possibilities by Andrea Severson. Andrea is a very lovely author tuber here on YouTube, and I will definitely link her channel down below. I loved this book. The only issue I'm finding with this book, Marie, is not being able to see the details of the book. So, let me pull up on my computer. Bookshop of Possibilities. I want you guys to know what these books are about, so we're gonna get into Amazon a little here. But you're also in front of my computer right now, so it's kind of hard to see. So let's adjust. Okay, so the description for this book is endless possibilities await Catherine within the bookshop. Catherine has her dream job in her dream location and a dreamy, glamorous life. Who wouldn't want to live in Los Angeles working with Hollywood celebrities and luxury brands? It's everything she's ever wanted, but one phone call will change her life forever and make her question what's really important. When her beloved Gran suddenly passes away, Catherine must travel back to Olsenburg, Wisconsin to sort out her grandmother's final affairs. Within days of arriving, she's found out she has inherited the family's bookshop, the apartment upstairs, and a cat. Further complicating matters is the handsome coffee shop owner next door. It's been years since she's visited this small historic town or helped Gran in the bookshop, but she's got to learn fast how to make the struggling bookshop profitable. When things change suddenly, it becomes a race against the clock to save the shop and preserve her family's legacy in town. Gran encouraged Catherine to reach for her dreams and believe in the impossible, but now it seems she will have to achieve the impossible. Catherine is about to find out what possibilities lie within Gran's bookshop. Like I said, I loved this book. It was so good. It was a definite 4-star for me. The town is fantastic. I love little small town romance books. That's like the best. I loved the romance between the characters. It was such a fantastic introduction to the series and to Andrea's books because it was the first one of hers I actually finished. I had started reading one of her London books and just never got around to finishing it, so I need to go back to those. Definitely recommend. It was a great start to the year. The next book was called Something's Different by Quinn Ivins. It was the first lesbian romance I read of 2023. It was great. It was a 5-star for sure. Yes, I'm going to be talking about LGBTQ books on here, and if you have a problem with that, please just leave. I don't want to hear any negative comments. I don't want to hear any discrimination or anything like that because that's not allowed here on my channel and I will not tolerate it. So anyway, let's move on. An Ice Queen boss knows there's something different about her assistant, but she can't put her finger on it. A fun twin switch lesbian office romance. This is why this was a 5-star. The twin switch part of it was fantastic. Unemployed academic Caitlin Taylor comes home to family drama. Her carefree twin Chloe plans to ditch her job to visit a guy she met online. Caitlin steps in to impersonate Chloe so she won't get fired for skipping town. Unfortunately, this means answering phones for an icy, dismissive boss. Busy college president Ruth Holloway never paid much attention to her mediocre assistant. Suddenly, Chloe demonstrates insight into faculty politics and a baffling talent for analytics. And since when has she been so attractive? Caitlin dreams of getting closer to her sister's boss, but how can she? Everything they've shared has been based on a lie. So good. So much tension in it. So much like when's the truth gonna come out kind of thing. Like I couldn't stop reading it. I think I probably read the bulk of the book in one day, in one sitting. I had to finish it the next day just because I couldn't keep my eyes open. So, but it was so good, so fantastic. And actually, I've been meaning to see if this author has other books, and she does. And this is bringing up other authors with like the same kind of vibe. So I think we're going to open up another tab so I can keep that open so I can do some Kindle shopping later. And if you guys have read any of these books, please do let me know your opinions down below as well. But as I said, be respectful, be understanding that everybody reads different stuff. Please don't be rude or, discriminatory or any of that stuff. But definitely let me know your opinions down below. If you have not read these books, let me know if any of them are intriguing you, if you're going to add them to your TBR. I'd love to know. Book number 3 of 2023 was Falling in Love at Nightingale Farm by Emma Bennett. I talked about this one in a vlog, I believe, because I'm pretty sure I was reading it in a vlog. But it was very good. 4-star, great romance, great dynamics of the characters. Holly Pressman is a London girl through and through. So when she's asked to help save an old family friend's struggling farm, she's way out of her depth. She arrives at Nightingale Farm trying to impress John and his rough but hunky son Mark with her business know-how, but it's clear from her sky-high stilettos that she is woefully unprepared. Polly knows how much the farm means to John, and she's doing everything she can to get it back on its feet. Soon people are flocking to visit the petting zoo and cute coffee shop and go strawberry picking. Finally, Mark sees that Polly truly cares about Nightingale Farm, and one night after too much of John's homemade cider, the pair find themselves alone and unable to deny their attraction. So good. I will admit I hadn't read much of Emma Bennett before this, and I regret it. I'm gonna want to binge all of her stuff now. I think I'm probably gonna add the rest of her stuff to my 2024 TBR, but we're not talking about that just yet. Because I don't really like to plan out my books. I'm a mood reader, so I'm not gonna plan out my TBR for 2024, but they're definitely gonna be added to my TBR. That's for sure. And then the last book I read in January is actually an ARC read. It was a middle grade called The Dark Mother by B.C. Taylor, and I believe this is book 2. I think this is book 2 of the Salem Witch Trials book. Not what you think it is. I don't want to give too much away. Let's read the description. It was a 4-star read for me. It is book 2. So just keep in mind it's book 2. There is a book 1. I also ARC read book 1, but I did that the previous year. So it says, Human Witch Demon. Maybe not all darkness is bad. Hayden finally passed her air trial, barely, but the year of fire is only beginning. Just as she settled into the world of Asylum, Hayden is forced to run for her life. Only this time she's running away from Asylum, and Jamie isn't letting her go alone. But running can't save her from the magic in her blood, magic that burns wildly out of control. As Hayden struggles with her fire magic, she questions everything she thought she knew. The only 2 people who can answer her burning questions are prisoners of an unknown evil. Hayden must vanquish her demons if she's to unmask her greatest enemy and pass her fire trial. But with the way things are going, she's more likely to burn the world to ashes. So I skipped some stuff in the description to not give too much away, because this is book 2. It's very good, and especially for a middle grade, because lots of times middle grades really downplay a lot of stuff. But this series, I feel like, doesn't. It definitely has the hard-hitting stuff. It definitely has all the details. It's very good. So that completed my January. In February, I only read 1 book, and it was A Game of Hearts and Heists by Ruby Rowe, another LGBTQ. I don't want to say lesbian because there's more to it than that. It's sapphic, basically. That's what it's listed as, is sapphic. I gave it a 4-star, but you know what? The more I think about it, it's nearly was a 3-star. And I hate that because I really wanted to love it because it was written by somebody that I listen to her podcast all the time, and she's a really cool person. But I just couldn't get into it. It was way more complicated than I like in a book, I guess. It was just kind of hard to get into. nothing against her. She's got rave reviews for it. She's written more books in the series. It just wasn't for me. So it says, two enemies, one goal, steal each other's hearts. Scarlet Grey, disgraced assassin, is determined to get revenge. Quinn Adams, medic turned poisoner for hire, is her deadliest rival. For years, they've stolen each other's clients, sabotaged each other's business, and occasionally slept together. When the magician Queen offers an irresistible deal, Scarlet and Quinn are forced to work together. But this is not a simple job. With an impossible heist ahead, they're going to have to trust each other, and that's not easy when they both have secrets to hide. Harder still when those secrets will betray the ones they love. Now neither woman is sure if it's a heist they want to win or a heart. Two women, two deadly professions, and a romance that could be their downfall. It sounds fantastic, and I mean, maybe it is. It is actually listed as lesbian, so I guess we can call it lesbian. Nothing against it. I'm sure lots of people love it. It just wasn't for me, and I don't plan on continuing the series just because of that fact. Again, in March, I only read 2 books. These months were just not easy for me. The first one was a 5-star read, 100% one of my best reads of 2023, and it was A Rebelling with Bad Boy by Sarah Sutton. I read this in, I don't even know, like 2 days. It was great. It's a young adult contemporary romance. The romance was fantastic. The surprises in this one, way outside her normal, which is not a bad thing. I was very, very pleased with it. And I think this was her comeback book after she had some issues at the end of her last series. I feel like this one was her comeback book. As much as I like the 2 first books in the Most Likely To series, this one definitely was her shining star. It's on my birthday that I realized the past 16 years of my life haven't really been mine. From my outfits to my hairstyles and even to my love life, my parents have control over all of it. And instead of fighting, I live by my mantra: keep my head down and keep my mouth shut. Until I'm paired with Brentwood High's resident bad boy Hudson Bishop, there aren't enough adjectives to describe him. Intimidating, scary, panic-inducing, there's a reason the school calls him the Grim Reaper. And when our principal pairs us together for a buddy program, he makes it perfectly clear he doesn't want to be stuck with a stiff like me. But when unloaded, most likely to stay a prude by the elite crowd of the school, suddenly Hudson Bishop is more than just a bad boy. He's a way out from underneath my mother's thumb. He's a path to rebellion, and despite all the warning bells going off in my head, I take it. It's so good, and for anybody who ever had a crush on a bad boy growing up, you can totally relate to this, and the whole series is fantastic. She just bases it off of that the students have a most likely to list, basically kind of like a yearbook thing, but not officially for the yearbook. It's just going around throughout the students, and it's kind of rude sometimes what they vote people, but it really opens up the world for the characters to get voted this. So it's a very interesting introduction to the series that she created. The other one is Matthew Perry's autobiography, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. 4-star read, very heavy, which part of the reason I only read 2 books in March is because I was reading this one and it took a long time to read because it is so heavy with everything and emotional, and you have to step away from it occasionally, but it is so worth the read, especially now. My heart is still broken, but go read it. And I have a friend who actually listened to it on audiobook, and he narrates it himself. She said that was even harder than she imagines reading it is, and I can totally understand that. I don't think I could ever survive even doing it in audiobook, but just his words are just so heavy and so important. So I encourage everyone, even if you are not a fan of Friends, go read it, because this is just more. It's about more than Friends. It's about more than even his specific journey. There's so much impacted in this book. Everybody needs to read it. April, again, 1 book, and it was Doctor Who: The Dalek Generation by Nicholas Briggs, looks like. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this. It's a Doctor Who not fan fiction, but it's a Doctor Who book based off the show. Matt Smith's Doctor fighting the Daleks. That's really all I'm going to go into detail, because if you don't know anything about Doctor Who, you're going to get bored if I sit here and talk about it. But it was a 5-star read. That one was a library book. I really have to go and find more of the Doctor Who books. I really want to read more of those. But the thing is I only really read certain doctors because, like, I was never actually able to watch every single one of the classic Doctor Who's because a lot of them got lost and stuff, so I can't really connect with those ones as much as I can connect with New Who, obviously. Like I said, I'm not going into detail and boring you guys. In May, only book I read was People We Meet on Vacation. I read it on my cruise. It's by Emily Henry. We all know how I feel about People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. 5 stars. I'd give it 6 if I could. I loved it. It was my introduction to Emily Henry, and I cannot get enough of her now, even though it still is my favorite one out of all of hers. I haven't read the most recent one I can't think of the name of right now, but because it has not come out in paperback yet. So the description is 2 best friends, 10 summer trips, 1 last chance to fall in love. Poppy and Alex and Poppy. They have nothing in common. She's a wild child. She wears khaki. She has insatiable wanderlust. He prefers to stay home with a book. And somehow, ever since a fateful car share home from college many years ago, they are the very best of friends. For most of the year, they live far apart. She's in New York City, and he's in their small hometown. But every summer for a decade, they have taken one glorious week of vacation together. Until 2 years ago, when they ruined everything, and they haven't spoken since. Poppy has everything she should want, but she's stuck in a rut. And when someone asks when she was last truly happy, she knows without a doubt it was on that ill-fated final trip with Alex. And so she decides to convince her best friend to take one more vacation together, lay everything on the table, and make it all right. Miraculously, he agrees. Now she has a week to fix everything, if only she can get around the one big truth that has always stood quietly in the middle of their seemingly perfect relationship. What could possibly go wrong? It's so good. And it's not even really about the romance as much as it is the friendship. Like, it's obviously a friends to lovers, but honestly, it's mostly about their friendship and just the connection they have. Like, some of my favorite parts were the flashbacks of just them going on vacation as friends. So good. Highly recommend. Probably my second favorite of 2023. Okay, in June, I read 3 books. Oh, and by the way, this is not including books that I, like, DNF'd or started but never finished, stuff like that. It was only including things that I finished and rated. So, in June, it was 3 books. It was The Princess and the Scoundrel, a Star Wars story. This is about Princess Leia and Han Solo after the movies and getting married and all that good stuff. So it says, the Death Star is destroyed, Darth Vader is dead, the Empire is desolate. But on the forest moon of Endor, among the chaos of a changing galaxy, time stands still for a princess and her scoundrel. After being frozen in carbonite, then risking everything for the rebellion, Han is eager to stop living his life for other people. He and Leia have earned their future together 1,000 times over, and when he proposes to Leia, it's the first time in a long time he's had a good feeling about this. For Leia, a lifetime of fighting doesn't seem truly over. There is work still to do, penance to pay for the dark secret that she now knows runs through her veins. Her brother Luke is offering her that chance, one that comes with family and promise of the Force. But when Han asks her to marry him, Leia finds her answer immediately on her lips. Yes. Yay. Yet, happily ever after doesn't come easily. As soon as Han and Leia depart their idyllic ceremony for their honeymoon, they find themselves on the grandest and most glamorous stage of all. The Halcyon, a luxury vessel on a very public journey to the most wondrous worlds in the galaxy. So it's basically a cruise, but in space. Their marriage and the peace and prosperity it represents are a lightning rod for all, including imperial remnants still clinging to power. Facing their most desperate hour, the soldiers of the Empire have dispersed across the galaxy, retrenching on isolated planets vulnerable to their influence. As the Halcyon travels from world to world, one thing becomes abundantly clear. The war is not over. But as danger draws closer, Han and Leia find that they fight their best battles not alone, but as husband and wife. So I didn't really expect too much from this. I knew I was going to like it because it's Star Wars, it's Han and Leia. Obviously, I was going to like it. It's by Beth Revis, by the way. But it blew me out of the water of what I expected because it's not just about their marriage and their love and everything. It's about so much more. And it's about, overcoming the obstacles of being together, because they're from different worlds and all this other stuff. And it even has stuff about Luke in there. It is so packed full of Star Wars stuff. If you're a Star Wars fan, you're kind of obligated to go read it. So definitely do so. It was a 5-star read for me for sure. So that was fantastic. I mean, I liked it so much that I actually have it right there over by my Star Wars stuff. Because I didn't want to put it away. I wanted to display it because I just loved it that much. But again, I'm not going to geek out over Star Wars with you guys. The next one was 7.5 Deaths of Emmeline Hardcastle. This was, I believe, a 4-star, but my stupid thing has got an ad going, so I'm pretty sure it was 4 stars. So it says, the 7.5 Deaths of Emmeline Hardcastle is a breathlessly addictive mystery that follows one man's race to find a killer with an astonishing time-turning twist that means nothing and no one are quite what they seem. the time-turning twists so well done. Like, it took a long time to get into it. A lot of it was really, really slow, but it was so worth reading to the end. So, Aiden Bishop knows the rules. Evelyn Hardcastle will die every day until he can identify her killer and break the cycle. But every time the day begins again, Aiden wakes up in the body of a different guest at Blackheath Manor, and some of his hosts are more helpful than others. With a locked room mystery that Agatha Christie would envy, Stuart Turton unfurls a breakneck novel of intrigue and suspense. So good, and like I said in the vlog when I was reading it, I don't normally read male authors because they usually cannot connect with their writing for some reason, but this one was so good, and I'm so glad I gave it a chance. The last one for June was Thornwood, which was a middle grade about two sisters. For years, Bryony has lived in the shadow of her beautiful older sister Rosalind, and the curse that has haunted her from birth. That on the day of her 16th birthday, she would prick her finger on a spindle and cause everyone in the castle to fall into a 100-year sleep. When the day the curse is set to fall over the kingdom finally arrives, nothing, not even Bryony, can stop its evil magic. You know the story, but here's something you don't know. When Bryony finally wakes up, it's up to her to find out what's really going on, and to save her family and friends from the murderous Thornwood. But who is going to listen to her? This is a story of sisterhood, friendship, and the ability of even little sisters to forge their own destiny. 4-star read, great middle grade. This one was definitely downplayed more than the other middle grade I read, but it was done in a way where the stakes were still high, so it wasn't like, degrading or talking down to the reader base that it was going for. But it was definitely much more simple, which is why I got through it pretty quickly. But I really liked it, and it was a really good middle grade. It was by Leah Cypress. In July, I read 3 books. However, one of them was a beta read, so we're not going to include that. You guys heard me talk about it in the vlogs, although I wasn't specific about that. And I'm still not going to be specific about it because she is still looking for a publisher, so I don't want to spoil anything. The other 2 books I read were Beach Read by Emily Henry, 5 stars. I think I had originally rated this 4 stars, and then changed it because I didn't like it as much as I liked People Leaving on Vacation, but I felt like rating it that way was unfair, so I changed it to a 5-star instead of a 4-star because it was really good. And I'm gonna kind of slow down on the descriptions here and just read you a little bit of each because this is going to get very long if I read the description of every book. So it says, a romance writer who no longer believes in love and a literary writer stuck in a rut engage in a summer-long challenge that may just upend everything they believe about happily ever afters. That's really all you need to know. Very, very good. Definitely a great book to read if you are a writer of any kind. And it is a little bit enemies to lovers. Like, they're not really enemies, but they kind of act like they are. So it's a little like soft enemies to lovers, I'd say. So if you're into that kind of thing, definitely worth a read. Inn of Hopes and Dreams. And I had originally given this a 3.5 star, and I think that's unfair. I think it should be a full 4-star. So we're up and a half a point here for you, Andrea. Part of the reason I feel like that's an unfair rating is because I wasn't in a good place when I was reading that, and I feel like maybe that clouded my thoughts a little bit because it was really good. Even though like the business side of things wasn't as intriguing to me as it was with Bookshop of Possibilities, the rest of it was. So, and speaking of enemies to lovers, I would definitely classify this one as an enemies to lovers, because even though they're working together, they're on 2 different sides of the opinion, I guess. So Lydia Kendrick has always dreamed of one day running the Silver Stag Inn and Pub, but a sudden change of events means she must take over sooner than expected. She loves her life in the small Wisconsin town of Olsenburg and can't think of living anywhere else. The Silver Stag Inn and Pub is the center of her universe. Now that she's taking over the running of the Silver Stag, the weight of her responsibility makes the million-and-one problems seem like she's just one step away from losing everything. Her first challenge is finding a new chef. When a miracle seems to present himself in the form of Oliver Kent, an experienced chef who also hails from the English countryside, so British guy, so definitely, yay, she almost can't believe her luck. Oliver should be the answer to her biggest challenge, but miracles don't always come in agreeable packages. It was very good, and I also cannot wait to read the rest of the books in this series. I'm actually currently in the middle of reading one. I have not gotten around to finishing it because I got distracted by other books and work. And so I'm currently in the middle of reading the next one in the series, but I cannot wait for the other ones that she is working on as well. August was 4 books deep. Another Emily Henry, Book Lovers. This one was a 3-star. Not my favorite of Emily Henry's by a long shot. Not to say it was bad, it just didn't really hold the same appeal to me as the other ones did. Okay, so this is two sisters went on a trip. One is a literary agent, the main character is a literary agent, and they're basically making the best of this trip in this still small town. That is not what they expected. It's a lot more rundown and stuff. And she meets this handsome guy who turns out to be a book editor. Chaos ensues. Obviously, you can kind of understand where that's going. And it was good. I don't know what about it makes it 3-star for me versus like a 4-star, but it just did not hold my attention as well. And I think it was just maybe a little too convenient. Maybe that was part of it too. I don't know, but it's Emily Henry, so it's worth a read, but it definitely was not even close to my favorite one in her books. And then after that, it was Sweet and Bitter Magic by Adrienne Toole. Tamsin is the most powerful witch of her generation, but after committing the worst magical sin, she's exiled by the ruling coven and cursed with the inability to love. Wren is a source, a rare kind of person who is made of magic, despite being unable to use it herself. When a magical plague ravages the queendom, Wren's father falls a victim. To save him, Wren proposes a bargain. If Tamsin will help her catch the dark witch responsible for creating the plague, then Wren will give Tamsin her love for her father. Of course, love bargains are a tricky thing, and these two have a long, perilous journey ahead of them. That is, if they don't kill each other first. So definitely enemies to lovers, and it does have lesbian romance in it, but not to the point where it's like it could be classified as such. And I think it's less about them being in love with each other and more about learning what love actually is and how to find it. It's very powerful. It's a young adult, obviously. Worth a read for any really young adult, especially a young adult girl who's kind of challenging or questioning, finding love or her feelings and who she is. I definitely feel like this is way worth a read for that kind of reader. But I enjoyed it. I believe I gave it a 4-star. Well, on Book Marie, I gave it a 3-star. And I think that was partially because the curse part was kind of boring to me. Like the plague thing. But maybe I'll give it a 3.5. Because it was pretty good. I just don't know if it was good enough to be a full 4-star for me. And a lot of that was the writing, because like the story was great. The writing kind of fell flat a little bit. Anyway, you can't love every book. So, and it was good though. I definitely, thinking back on it, I definitely did enjoy it and enjoyed the message it provided. Sometimes I question my rating system, and like I'll look back at these things and think, why did I rate it that? Because I can't really remember why I rated it that. I feel like maybe I should keep like a detailed journal for my books and like my thoughts and opinions on it and stuff, because I am not a person who can annotate a book. There's just no way. But I really like to write down my thoughts occasionally, so I may get like a journal or something for my books when I read. Okay, next in August was The Excalibur Curse by Kirsten White. Talked about this one in a vlog, actually did a full vlog about it, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. I will link that vlog down below and in the cards. It was a 5-star read, fantastic. It's a King Arthur, Gwen, Camelot retelling. I didn't actually realize this was book 3 when I first started reading it, but I didn't feel like I was too lost. I may go back and read the first 2 books just for the hell of it. I'm not going to read the details about it or anything because, like I said, I have that whole vlog on it, so just go watch that if you're interested. And then another Sarah Sutton, who's fake dating a football player, the next in the Most Likely To series, the last in the Most Likely To series, actually. And obviously it's a fake dating trope. It's right there in the title. Who knew fake dating the quarterback would be the key to the life I've always wanted? The second I turned 18, the only thing I wanted to do was skip 10. But then I'm forced to move in with my uncle. My cousin buys a van I had my eyes on, and suddenly my freedom is now a graduation present held hostage until the end of the school year. There is one way to turn the situation around, though, and that's to fake date the shy, quiet, emotionally reserved Brentwood High star quarterback and Landon Settler. 5-star read, which most of Sarah's books are for me, and I think it was a good continuation of the series. I do feel like I really hope she writes the other books, the other characters in the series, because there are lots that I would be very interested in that I feel like we're kind of missing out on. But I also understand she was getting a little burnt out with the series, so if she doesn't continue it, then that's totally her prerogative. In September, I only read a book that was sent to me. It's called In the Eye of the Beholder by Maggie Mua, which I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I did talk about this in a vlog, but I cannot remember which vlog that was, so I will talk about it a little bit. Intellectual, frank, and outspoken Eleanor Sherbrooke is everything a Victorian lady should not be. Her sister Julia is a stunning beauty who can have anyone she sets her sights on, and she sets them on the man Eleanor loves. Broken-hearted Eleanor leaves England to become a nurse at the infamous British Army Hospital in Turkey, near where Joshua is mirrored in war. I can't pronounce that. Blah, 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 blah. Thrown together and forced to face cruelty and loss in a war-torn land, Eleanor and Joshua's bond grows deeper every day. The folly and glory of the Crimean War forever changes them as they struggle to find a love strong enough to emerge from the ashes of their shared ordeal. This was 3.5 star because it was so heavy on the war stuff and not really as equally heavy on the romance stuff. So it was getting to be a bit too much for me. So I feel like if there was more of a balance between those two, it would have been more of a 4 or maybe even a 4.5 star. But the reality of the situation is it was a lot of war for my personal liking. Not to say that's a bad thing, just for me as the reader, not great. All right, in October, I read The Agathas, which is a young adult mystery based off of Agatha Christie books. So basically, the characters are a fan of Agatha Christie. Their friend gets killed, and they solve the mystery because the police are inept at doing it. I don't even really have to explain or read the description. That's basically the whole book. In the process, obviously, they make friends with people they didn't think they would be friends with and all this other stuff. And there is now another book out, which I actually just bought in the 50% off hardcover sale at Barnes & Noble, so I will definitely be reading that in 2024, because book 1 was a 4.5 star. I think the only thing that would make it go over to a 5 star is if the mystery wasn't quite so convenient. Keeping in tone with Agatha Christie stuff, there was like that whole build-up of like the suspects and eliminating the suspects and all that, which is great, but the final reveal, I guess, felt like it was a little too easy. Like the end was rushed a little bit. So, I mean, that's honestly the worst thing I can say about it, which that's the worst thing I can say about it. It's pretty darn good. Okay, and in November, I read Fourth Wing, and I forgot to write it on here. I have a whole vlog about Fourth Wing, so I'm not even going to go into too much about that. I will link the vlog down below and up in the cards. Obviously, that was a requested reading vlog that you guys wanted, so yeah, all the details about how I feel are in that vlog, so I'm not even going to go into detail about that. But then after that, in November, I read Wanting Her Boss by Carol Wyatt. This is a lesbian romance. The description is, Madison Doone has it all at 44. She thrives in the high-stakes realm of reputation management, enjoying a life others envy. A lavish wedding invite for Madison's ex-wife arrives, and the thought of attending solo is unthinkable. In a bold move, Madison enlists her dedicated 28-year-old assistant, Peyton, to play the role of her girlfriend. But this charade is more than just an act. It's a dance with forbidden desires. Little does Madison know, Peyton has been silently mocking her for the last year. This fake relationship, as brief as it is, brings Peyton's hidden passions to the forefront, and an electrifying connection emerges. As the lines between make-believe and reality blur, will Madison and Peyton risk it all for a chance at true love? So it's an age gap as well. It was good. It was 3.5 star. I kind of feel like it was rushed, so that's why I didn't give it a 4 star, but the overall plot and everything was great. The romance was great. The tension was great. The age gap part was great. I love a good age gap book. This year was a little heavy on the lesbian romances, especially the end of the year. Fair warning, there's plenty more coming in the end of this video. But in December, I read Take a Chance on Me, which is a lesbian romance. And it was another 3.5 star because I felt like there could have been so much more to it. The writing was not the best. The story could have been way longer and fleshed out more. It's by Sarah Swan. It's another office romance, boss and assistant, I think. Advertising assistant, yeah, and it's another age gap one. It's really all you need to know, honestly. Doesn't really, the details don't really matter. It's an office romance. It's a risky office romance, I guess is the way you could put it. But there's also like a lot of humor in it, a lot of tension in it. So it was good. It didn't have it didn't live up to the potential that I thought it had. Then we've got 3 Holidays and Our Wedding, which was our first book club pick. So I'm not even going to go into that. I will link the video for the book club video everywhere. That was the last video I did of 2023. It was a 4-star for me, I will tell you that, but just go watch the video for more specifics. And then we had A Perfect Fit, which was another age gap lesbian romance. I'm sorry, I know it's very heavy with the lesbian romance. I try not to read so much of one genre. Ella Gardner is a high school English teacher and former volleyball star who lost out on her chance to play in college when she became pregnant with her daughter in her senior year of high school. Fed up with the direction of her life, she acknowledges her sexuality at 35 and decides to try online dating. While her first and only foray into that world did not work out the way she had intended, happenstance brought her into the orbit of the woman who would change her life forever. Parker Chase is everyone's friend and every woman's conquest. She's always looking for her next one-night companion until a statuesque blonde strolls up to her bar one night. She never believed in love at first sight before now, but can she overcome a troublesome past which leaves her feeling unworthy of any lasting affection? That part of the book, so good. Like, it breaks your heart, but it's so good. The twists and turns on the road to love are never easy to navigate, and with a cast of characters that will make you cry and keep you in stitches from one chapter to the next, this story visits old tropes and looks at them with new eyes. Happily Ever After free with purchase. It's fantastic, and it's by Kellen McKnight, and honestly, when I first saw it recommended on my Kindle, I didn't think much of it because the cover is kind of like cartoonish and kind of something that looks like you would make like in, yourself, like in I want to, I'm downplaying it. It doesn't look that bad. Here, I'll show you. See, it doesn't look that bad of a cover. But it is definitely not the typical cover you see on like professional books. So, I was a little weary, and now there's a fingerprint on my lens. So getting used to this camera, y'all. As you can see, it's also zooming or focusing in and out, but we'll get better at that. But yeah, it was such a good book. The tension, the twists and turns, the fact that the one character has a kid makes it interesting. It was 5-star read for me. I loved it. Obviously, another age gap, which I can't get enough of age gap romances. I'm sorry, I just can't. If that's wrong, I don't want to be right. Okay, and then the last 3 of the year are also lesbian romances. Again, I apologize for the heavy of one genre. I don't normally do that. I am very much a mood reader and very much like to read every genre out there, aside from sci-fi. But it just worked out this way in December. I have no explanation. So the next one is Kiss Her Once for Me, which was a Christmas lesbian romance by Allison Cochran. This one was actually on a whim purchase. I was way too early to go to work one day because I was out and about during the day doing other stuff, Christmas shopping basically, and I didn't want to go home just to leave again. So I'm like, wow, Barnes and Noble's right down the street. So I went and grabbed this on a whim, and sat in the car and read until it was too dark to do so. And then went to work. To summarize the description, because it is quite long, it's basically 2 women ran into each other a year ago Christmas, had a whirlwind, day-long romance kind of thing, and then never saw each other again until the following Christmas, when it turns out that the guy who she is fake dating for an inheritance turns out to be the brother of the woman that she met the year before. This one was really interesting because it wasn't so much about the lesbian romance as it was the dynamic and the awkwardness of the whole situation. Like, it was a little slow because a lot of the beginning was about meeting the guy and agreeing to fake date him and all this other stuff. fake engagement, actually. It's not even fake dating. But anyway, and then the second half was more about the two women, if that makes sense. So it was a little slow in the beginning, just because you go in with the expectation that it's going to be a lesbian romance, and then you have this big long beginning part with a guy. So it's a little weird in that aspect, but it's the build up is necessary to understand the rest of the book. And it has a lot of flashbacks, kind of like people who on vacation where they flashback a year before of all the relationship stuff they had going on that one Christmas. Which is, I love those parts, don't get me wrong. But for me, the really great part of this book was when they realized they were going to have to spend Christmas together with other people and try not to, try to pretend they don't know each other and all that. Not a 5-star. It was a 4-star. It could have been a 5-star if it wasn't for that beginning, I think. If it was just about them meeting again Christmas without the fake engagement with the brother, I think it would have been a 5-star. But that really slowed things down in the beginning. Next is Not on the Resume by Chloe Peterson. I will say right now, I love this book so much that I am on book 3 of the same series already, and I just finished it on the 20th of December. So the first book, I just finished the first book on the 20th of December, and I'm already on book 3 of the series. So I am binging the hell out of this series. It is a billionaire series. It's a lesbian romance. After years of dead-end jobs, 26-year-old Elliot catches a break she never expected. Her new boss, Cameron, is as icy and ruthless as the rumors say. But Elliot is determined to make this job work, even if it means burying her social life. What she doesn't expect is the scintillating chemistry that grows between them. Cameron, 47, is a perfectionist and has had her fair share of subpar assistants. When her best friend claims to have found the right one, Cameron is skeptical. At first, she's convinced she's made a mistake as Elliot struggles to keep up, but Elliot proves to be the perfect fit, perhaps a little more. With the breach threatening to destroy her empire, the last thing Cameron needs is a battle with her raw attraction for Elliot, a battle she's starting to lose. Now, when I read this, I don't think I really understood that it was such a big age gap. It's like 20 years, which doesn't really come across in the writing, which is interesting, but I mean, I love age gap romances, so I'm good with it. But again, it doesn't really come through in the writing, which is interesting because, I feel like that's something I should have noticed as I was reading it. But it doesn't. It really doesn't matter because it's such a good book, such a good romance, such a good It's a slow burn for sure, and there's so much in it, and there's the friend group of pretty much all gay people, which is great because then you get that dynamic of that as well, which a lot of people don't have, especially in the LGBTQ community. You don't really have that group of supportive people that understand how you're feeling and stuff, and so that was really interesting to see. And like I said, I'm binging the whole series, so it tells you how good I enjoyed it. It wasn't a 5-star just because, I don't really know why I didn't really rate it a 5-star. I just don't feel like it's worthy of a 5-star. I didn't get that 5-star feeling that you get. So it's a 4-star. What was a 5-star, however, was my very last book of 2023, and it was Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. Another series that I'm going to be binging in 2024 because I just need the rest of the books. There's only 3 so far. This is the first one. It's in the Bright Falls series, and this one was, I'm not going to read the whole description, I'm just going to explain it to you. It was basically a stepsister photographing a wedding, and she falls for the maid of honor, but there's so much more involved in it because they've changed since they were kids, so they didn't really recognize each other. And there's a family tension going on over here while there's the sexual tension going on over here. There's a secret relationship. There's just so much packed in there. She's also, the other character is also a mother, so then there's that aspect as well with her ex-husband, and she was a teen mom and all this. So there's a lot going on in this book, but it was so worth wading through all of that to get to the end because 5-star for sure. I loved this book. I didn't want it to end. I wanted to keep reading, but I also couldn't stop myself from reading, if that makes sense. So I got through this really quick. This was a 400-page book, and I got through it in 3 days, and that's unheard of for me. So that tells you something. But I'm definitely going to add the other books in the series to my 2024 TBR. No doubt about that. as much as I have talked extremely fast because I didn't want this video to be very long, I'm also extremely tired and my hair's bothering me now because I talk so much and my battery's dying as well. So I am going to let you guys go. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, let me know your opinion about any of these books down below if you're going to add them to your TBR. If you have any questions about any of them, do let me know that as well, or you can message me on Instagram if you want to ask me privately. And that's going to end this video. I liked doing this wrap up. I don't know about you guys. Let me know if you liked this wrap up of my year, or if you want me to do like a little smaller wrap ups throughout the year, like monthly wrap ups maybe. I don't know. It's going to depend on how much I read. But let me know for sure if you enjoy this, if you're a booktuber, or you just really enjoy reading and you want to hear more about what I read throughout the year. Please do let me know, because I really did enjoy this wrap up. It really brought me all the good feels of everything that I loved about all the books. And yeah, so I'm gonna go before this dies on me, so I'll talk to you guys soon. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, and see you in the next video. Bye.